Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in as always. Guess what just arrived? The rebuilt engine, take two. Let's see, the old rebuilt engine was built 60 over, and this is a completely new block, so this one got sleeved back to standard bore. And the only other difference that I'm aware of is they put a later style PCV valve on here versus just the downpipe that we had on there before, and everything else looks to be the same. It looks like I lost my thermostat. I think they took it out and ran test it without the thermostat, because I should be able to feel it in there. So we'll have to take this off and put another thermostat in it. I think we'll probably have to get a couple fittings here and there as well, because I think I lost those with the old engine. And I'm not going to film the whole thing this time. You guys have already seen me do this twice, really put the engine in the vehicle. But the first step is to get all the external components installed. So I'm going to do all that stuff off camera, but I will throw in some clips here and there of my progress and any highlights of the process. All right, here's my first update for you. Got pretty much everything on the outside of the engine. Standard stuff over here: distributor, generator, dipstick tube. This is where the coil normally goes, but I'm going to run the coil on the inner side of the engine bay, kind of on the back of the right fender. So this area is just going to remain blank. Once again, the builder left the motor on top dead center at number 1. But I verified that anyway to make sure we got the distributor clocked correctly. As far as ignition timing goes, I think I got it pretty close, but we won't know until we get the engine started, and then we can adjust the timing just like we did last time. This is new. I put a valve on it this time rather than just a straight pipe, because this way we can shut off the flow of hot liquid through the heater core in the summertime. Now the heater has a fan in there, but even if the fan is not on and the engine's up at operating temperature, you're probably going to feel some heat emanating from around the heater core down by your feet, especially for the passenger in the summertime. So this way we can shut off the flow of hot coolant by closing the valve this way, or open it for the winter time. So I think that's a good idea there. I think we'll just leave it open to start with. Not a whole lot to look at over here. Generator, of course. I got the fan belt at a good tension. You don't want these things too tight to start out with. Oil filter assembly is all secure. If you guys remember from before, I did fabricate this line from the filter to the engine block. Is to the left and low of the fuel pump down there. I'll show you that in just a minute. I got all the spark plugs in and spark plug wires. Firing order is 1342. And here is the fuel pump. This line here is where the fuel comes from the gas tank. I had to put a new oil pressure sending unit on because the other one got bent. I've got the carburetor and the carburetor linkage all functioning. Clutch plate, pressure plate, all installed and secure. The backing plate is just here waiting for the installation. I had to get a new fitting for the head for our water temperature sender. I don't know what happened to the insert to the old one, but they just had it blocked off with a plug. So I had to go find an adapter at the hardware store and make that fit with our temperature sending unit. Of course, the builder put all new freeze plugs in it. I mentioned this one already and I forgot to show you. Right there, there's another fitting that you have to get there that goes into the block so you can screw the oil line into it. This right here on the top of manifold is just a vacuum port. For example, this truck has vacuum operated windshield wipers. So at some point in the future when we're all, good with the motor and everything's working, I'll hook up the windshield wipers with a vacuum line and see if they work. I doubt this truck is going to get driven in the rain a whole lot, but it would be nice if they worked. Besides the fittings, the only thing that went wrong so far with this assembly is this bolt here pulled about 3 threads out of the block. I probably spent 3 hours on that, fixing that, so I had to go to the store and get a helicoil kit. And I successfully installed a helicoil into this hole in a block, so we can still use the same bolt with the same size threads. And that turned out really well. It just took a long time because that's pretty touchy stuff when you start talking about drilling a hole into the engine block. Granted, there's a hole there already with the old strip threads, right? But still, to put a helicoil in there, you have to drill that hole larger, and then you have to tap that hole and then put the helicoil in. And you want to do all that without getting any metal shavings inside the block whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure that I was successful. I don't think I got one single shred of metal into the inside of the block, because I could put my finger in the hole and then put it around this way on the back side of the hole and keep that covered on the back. So as I was drilling and tapping, I would stop periodically, keeping my finger on the back side of the hole, and then I would blow out the hole with brake clean and air, and then I would do a little bit more, and then I would do a little bit more and blow it out, you know, so on and so forth until I was done. So by keeping my finger on the back side of that hole, I'm pretty sure I didn't get one bit of metal inside the block. And I got the helicoil installed really well. The bolt is nice and tight. The fuel pump feels great. This right here on the right side of the engine is where the ground cable goes from the battery. So it's an engine ground. And the other thing I'm going to do differently this time is, in addition to the engine ground, I'm also going to run a cable off here to the body, so we have an engine and body ground. The bracket here for the spark plug cables, you can see how I've got it mounted on top of the head nuts. So you don't need to take the head nuts off and then worry about retorquing them. Just put it on top and then there's no worry. That same thing goes with the oil filter assembly bracket, because there's 3 big nuts on top of here, and it's the same thing. I don't know if you can see, but I've got them on top of the head nuts. And because I went with a valve here rather than just a barb, of course we had to get an adapter to fit in the block and then the valve to fit inside of it. So I had to get that at the hardware store. So there's your first progress report. Everything's going pretty well, even with those strip threads and the extra time for the helicoil installation. Things are going pretty well. All right, here's update number 2. This is just going to be a quick one. I just wanted to show you that once I get the engine lowered into the bay a little bit and below these support rods, I like to put the motor mounts actually on the front mounts of the engine. Now both mounts are on, just finger tight, and they'll be ready to lower in place. It's much easier to get them on now than it is later, basically, and it helps also to line the engine up as we're trying to push it back that way onto the transmission input shaft. Okay, here's the next project update for you. You might be able to tell that I have a cold. It started about 5 days ago, and it was so slow to get going that I didn't even think that I had a cold at first. And the second day I said, maybe I am getting a cold, and the third day, blam, it was here full blast, and I think I'm on day 5 right now. And the symptoms are all mostly in the head, but it's also that type of a body cold or flu or whatever you want to call it, that, you know, your hair hurts and everything else is just, ugh. So I haven't been enjoying rolling around under this truck for the last couple of days because I've just been feeling terrible. But I didn't want another week to go by with the engine sitting here after it came home. So I knocked this thing out, and it's basically done. I've got oil in it, I've got coolant in it, the wiring is all hooked up, and I've got the battery charger on it one last time. I did have a question from a few people last time we did this, and it's a valid question. It is, why are you putting such a beautiful rebuilt engine, painted and pretty, into an unrestored engine bay? Well, the answer is simple, and that is we don't yet know what we're going to do with this truck aesthetically. So the last thing that I want to do
is spend a week or whatever time it would take, maybe longer, who knows, restoring the engine bay. And then if I did restore it, what color do we paint it? Because we don't know what color the truck is going to be yet. So the simple answer is it's just not time to do that yet. If and when we do get to the point where we say, yeah, we're going to restore this entire truck inside and out, then guess what? We just pull the engine and then do the bay at that time. Anyway, just a couple side notes here for anybody that might be curious. We're running Autolite 295 spark plugs, 30 thousandths gap. Now the heater valve that we installed back there, the old barb, the one we had on the old rebuilt motor, just came straight out of the head. This one comes out and then goes that way. So I had to get some heater hose fittings to put some bends in that line right there, but it turned out really nice and I'm happy with that. I've had the oil in the engine for over 24 hours and there's absolutely no drips from the bottom of the engine. Of course, we haven't started it yet. I just put the coolant in about an hour ago and everything with that is completely dry also. So we got green light, go, everything looks good. And also, you guys, don't forget to use the special alignment pins. Right down there. Don't use just any old bolt you got in your drawer. Those things are a certain diameter, and supposedly, you know, they help line up the input shaft with the engine. And do yourself a favor, the bolts that are back there, one on the driver's side. I don't even know if we're going to be able to see the one on the passenger side. It's down there somewhere. But do yourself a favor and put those bolts in from the back towards the front before you put the engine in, and use something to keep them in place, like something temporary, like a tape or a JB weld that you can break off later. Because if you don't put those bolts in before you put the engine in, it is a bear to get those things in, especially the one on the driver's side. All right, guys, it's a couple days later now. We had a pretty good storm pass through, so I couldn't do any filming. I still have my cold, but it's a beautiful day today, and it's finally time to start this thing up. All right, so the system is dry. It's probably going to crank for a little bit before we get fuel up to the carburetor. Besides that, I'm not expecting any issues this time, you know what I mean? I think we've had enough issues for this engine so far. No fuel yet. Now we got fuel, shouldn't be too much longer. Well, it sounds really good, but it needs some more timing. So let me adjust that, I'll be right back. Listen to how quiet it is. So I'm gonna let this run, get it up to temperature, just to make sure the thermostat opens. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go get my timing light and see if we can dial this in right on the money. Looks like the thermostat opened and she's running right at temperature. The battery is charging. We have good oil pressure and we're almost out of gas. I can fix that. There's one little bead of oil coming out the bottom of the oil pump plate, or the bottom of the oil pump cover. So it looks like that big nut might be a little bit loose. So I'm gonna go get a wrench and tighten that down. Hopefully that'll fix that. All right, I've got the motor shut off here just for a couple minutes. I'm looking around. All the cylinders are running at the same temperature, which is excellent. The carburetor did take a little adjustment. That made quite a big difference. I couldn't get my timing light to work, and I'm suspecting that might be because we have a 6-volt system. But I am pretty confident that I have the ignition timing very close, just set by ear. What else? I showed you all the gauges are working. All my heater hoses are dry. All the radiator hoses are dry. And thank goodness we don't have any oil coming out of the front or the rear of the engine like we did last time. God, what a nightmare that was to get the engine back, get it installed in the vehicle, and have something, have failed. That was a bum rap. And look at this. We don't have a bunch of moisture coming out of the tailpipe either. What a concept there. Like I said a couple of minutes ago, there was a drip of oil coming off that big bolt right there on the bottom of the oil pump. I tightened it down. I did cinch it down a little bit more than it was, but it was pretty tight. So we're gonna start the truck again and see if that continues to weep out of there. Again, it's not a bad leak, but there is a little bit of wetness there that shouldn't be there. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, this is small potatoes. Everything looks really good. So I'm gonna put a couple gallons of non-ethanol in this here at the shop, and then we'll take it for a drive and take it to the local gas station and get some more non-ethanol for it. And while we're out, we'll go ahead and drive it around town a little bit and, test on it, make sure everything's good. So let's go for a ride. we are back. That was, I don't know, 40-minute drive or so around town. Listen to this engine. Temperature still looks really good. Everything looks really good. Before I came back over here to the shop, I actually took it around the property for about 15 minutes in four-wheel drive, just to make sure everything was working with the transfer case. And it is, so that's all good there. The throttle is sticking back here a little bit. If you pull on it, right there, it gets stuck and then comes back. So I will have to work on that, but that'll be an easy fix. But I still have a little bit of oil on the bottom of the oil pump housing there where I showed you before. There's one tiny little drip on the ground right there. And the rest of this engine is completely dry. I also shut down the heater valve that we installed on the head back there. I closed it all the way, and we're gonna see if the engine temperature came up at all. It should not have, but let's see. No, we're still good there. So like I said earlier in the video, when it's closed, the hot coolant is not running through the heater core anymore. It's blocked off. So that should be nice for warm weather. We don't need extra heat in the cab. You know, there's no AC to begin with. We don't need extra heat in there. So I have a couple things to tidy up here with the engine. I do want to try to get the ignition timing perfect. You know, doing it by ear is okay for a first test drive, but I want to figure out my timing light or figure something out and really get that on the money. So I've still got a few things I want to do with the engine, but thank goodness that everything is good with it. There's no leaks like we had before. There's no cracks in the block. It's all of that is finally behind us. Man, that was a lot of work. And this is almost 1 year to the day when we first took the engine out of the truck to have it shipped away to be rebuilt. So did we lose a complete year because of the engine? Not quite. I was able to get quite a lot of other things done in the meantime, like that transfer case leak. That was a huge job. We did a bunch of other things too, so I can't say we lost a whole year on it, but we definitely lost some time with this engine just waiting around for it. And it's just one of those things that was out of our control. We couldn't do anything about it. It was definitely frustrating here and there, but in the end, we have the result that we wanted. So I'm gonna fix that sticky throttle linkage. I'm gonna investigate that oil leak on the bottom of the oil pump, and we're gonna try to dial in the ignition timing right on the money. Other than that, this motor is good to go. I might check the head nuts tomorrow. And kudos to the engine builder who honored their warranty. You know, not every business does that. So it was refreshing to have these folks stand behind their work. And not only did they honor the warranty, but they gave us a brand new warranty on this engine. So the new warranty starts from now and goes forward. It does not start from, you know, when we got that first rebuilt engine back from them. So that's also really good news. So the rest of this housekeeping stuff I'm just gonna do off camera. You guys don't need to see me do that, it's boring stuff. There's a couple things still on the whiteboard. I need to get the heater hose, still need to lube the chassis. The battery is not gonna last a whole lot longer. But I mention all that because this will soon mean that we're done with the mechanical restoration on the truck. So, as you guys know, probably, when you start talking about paint and body work, then you start talking about some more money. Yeah, the engine, you know, wasn't cheap, but it wasn't terrible either. All the mechanical stuff that we've done this whole project so far, in these 2 years, 22 episodes, it really wasn't all that much money comparatively. Paint and body work, there's just so much labor involved in that. We're not going to have that discussion today, but just for example, this hood is pretty good overall. But when you come down here, some of these fenders have splits in them, and some of these body panels are rusting from the inside out, and the bed is just a completely another story. So all that's going to be a conversation for another day. After I finish up these little housekeeping things that I've mentioned, this is going to be a daily driver. This is going to be something we can use whenever we want. One other thing that I might mention to my cousin is a possible 12-volt upgrade conversion. You know, you want to get opinions from people, ask them what they think about a 12-volt upgrade on a classic vehicle from 6-volt. You'll get all kinds of answers. Of course, I got my own opinions, but at the end of the day, this is not going to be a Pebble Beach show car. In fact, we already know that the L134 engine that's in it is actually incorrect for a 1952 truck. It should have the F134 in it. We made that decision a year ago to go ahead and move forward with the L134. So, getting back to the 12-volt conversion again, when the whole purpose of fixing up this truck or any other classic car is to enjoy it. I could go on and on about the pros and cons about a 12-volt conversion, but it is so nice to get in one of these old vehicles and turn the key, or in this case, you know, push your foot on the starter button and have that motor crank over fast and then start up quickly. Because these 6-volt systems, they kind of go rrr, 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 rrr. It's just another thing to consider for the future. And I hope you guys continue to tune in for this project series, because we are not done. I don't know what it's going to be yet that we do with the aesthetics, but whatever it is, it's going to be something. And I'll bring you guys along for the ride as always. Please check out antiquecarsandstuff.com. That is one of the ways that I fund the channel. We just got some new shirts in. These are stitched, not printed. The stitching is really good quality, and the shirts themselves are good quality. I really like the way this feels on me. They go all the way from small to 4XL, international shipping. And we've also got some new sticker packs in the store, as well as hats. So thanks everybody for sticking with me on this project during all the delays with the engine. I know we had a lot of downtime in there that was out of our control. It was out of my control. But in the end, we got this old girl back running and operational again. Wow, that was a long time coming, wasn't it? So that's a wrap. I'll say so long for now, and I hope to see everybody on the next video. Thanks for watching. Another thing we have not checked yet is the spare wheel. The previous owner told me that he thought it might be bent. So let's get this off the truck and see if we can determine if it's bent or not. Well, I don't know if the wheel is bent yet, but the tire is flat. Okay, so this is the front right wheel. And this is the one that's currently on the truck. I haven't put the spare on yet. But I wanted to check this one before we check the spare, just so we'd have something to compare it to. I've got my hillbilly dial indicator set up here, and we're simply going to watch the tip of this point in relationship to the outer edge of the rim as I spin the wheel. And you can see that this wheel is pretty darn straight. It's actually quite impressive. So that's my control. That's what I'm going to start with. Now I'm going to remove this wheel and get the spare on, and we'll do the same exact test. All right, I've got the spare wheel all mounted up, and we're going to perform the same test. But I can tell you just by looking at this rim, it is severely bent. And we're going to see exactly how bent it is right now. Keep your eye on that gap between the tip of the point and the edge of the rim. Here we go. Woo! That gap is over 1 inch from where we started. So let's go all the way around now. It's coming back. See how close it gets right there? And then, wow, right about there is its widest. Over 1 inch, just a little bit. Now let's take a look at it from the front. Well, I think that we have confirmed that not only the wheel is bent, but that the wheel is severely bent. So, in my opinion, this wheel is garbage. We might be able to take it to a wheel shop and have them straighten it, but I think the amount of labor involved and the question of if it can even be saved at this point, I think it'd be better just to buy an aftermarket brand new rim, because I don't think they're all that much money. So the wheel has basically been on the truck just for looks, because this could never be used as a spare as it is.